A judge ruined Donald Trump's day today with a brand new scathing ruling that's going to have long lasting impacts on his campaign and may even impact the result of the 2024 presidential election. You know, Donald Trump just had a pretty bad day today overall, not only with this ruling, but also another one in New York where his request to move his case into federal court and postpone the sentencing in the hush money case was denied. But in this specific ruling, a judge in Michigan declared that RFK Jr. must remain on the ballot in the state. And this is significant for multiple reasons, which we'll talk about in just a second. But before we do so, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It helps me a lot. It greatly supports the channel and it goes a long way. But now into the story. So the Associated Press put out this article earlier today saying RFK Jr. must remain on the Michigan ballot, judge says. A very significant ruling. A Michigan judge ruled that RFK Jr. must remain on the November presidential ballot, dealing a blow to his crusade to strategically remove his ticket from battleground states. So this is something that RFK Jr. is trying to do right now as we speak. He's trying it in virtually every single swing state. He failed in Wisconsin last week. He tried in Michigan, and he's also still trying in North Carolina because, as we know, RFK Jr. takes votes away from Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris. So if he remains on the ballot, it's more likely that he'll hurt Donald Trump than help anybody else. And even there's a Kamala Harris ad right here. I like it. But Kennedy suspended his campaign and endorsed Donald Trump in August. Since then, as we talked about, he has sought to withdraw his name in states like Michigan, where the race could be close. At the same time, he's trying to remain on the ballot in states where he is unlikely to make a difference between Trump and Vice President Harris. Kennedy filed a lawsuit in Michigan's Court of Claims against Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, a Democrat, in an effort to withdraw his name. Michigan's election officials had previously rejected Kennedy's notice of withdrawal. So that's what inspired him to file the lawsuit, that they rejected his notice of withdrawal. And he sued, claiming that he had the right to, and all this nonsense we'll talk about in a second. But as you can probably guess, it didn't go well. In a post on X or Twitter earlier in the day, Benson said that under Michigan law, candidates who are nominated and accept a minor party's nomination shall, quote, not be permitted to withdraw. Kennedy argued in the lawsuit that his notice of withdrawal was timely and the electorate's votes could be, quote, diminished and rendered invalid if he remains on the ballot. He filed a similar lawsuit in North Carolina where he's trying to withdraw his name. And here's where it all went very, very wrong for RFK Jr. Michigan Court of Claims Judge Christopher P. Yates concluded that the Secretary of State rightly rejected Kennedy's request to be removed from the ballot. He said, quote, elections are not just games. Yes, exactly. And the Secretary of State is not obligated to honor the whims of candidates for public office, Yates said in his opinion and order. So that is a great ruling. And it's absolutely right. I mean, thank God we have people out there and judges and those in the legal profession who are standing up for the sanctity of our elections, our democracy. You know, people like RFK Jr., people like Donald Trump think that this is a game, that we're just pawns, that they get to move around and they get to withdraw their name or do this with the election or do that with the election when they please. I mean, just the other day, Donald Trump was claiming in a Fox News interview that he has the right to interfere in presidential elections, which is total nonsense. But they just think it's a game. They think it's pawns and they can play the elections as they please. Not happening. The people will stand up to that. And even these elected officials are standing up to that, doing their job, which I'm incredibly thankful for. And it shows you that our democracy is still strong heading into November, which is going to be very important. Our democracy will be tested once again. But as I mentioned, this is incredibly significant. We talked a little bit earlier about how this is going to impact Donald Trump's chances. And there's actually data to back this up. So you can see right here are a couple of polls that I want to show you from Michigan, specifically the state of Michigan, between Harris and Donald Trump. We're going to start right up here at focal data. So as you can see in this first focal data poll down here between August 6th and the 16th of August, it's just a straight head-to-head between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is at 53%, Trump is at 47%. She's leading by 6 points. However, when you factor in RFK Jr. being on the ballot, her lead actually goes up her lead goes up to 8 points. Kennedy takes 5% of the vote. Kamala Harris is sitting nice at 50%. Donald Trump is sitting at 42%. That's also the case in other polls that they've done, focal data specifically. In this poll, Kamala Harris is up by 7. Kennedy takes 4% of the vote. She's at 51. Trump's at 44. That's another poll showing that Kennedy takes more away from Donald Trump than anybody else. Here, another one, the Bullfinch group right here. This poll is fascinating. In this poll between August 8th and August 11th, Kamala Harris is at 48%. She has a 5-point lead over Donald Trump, who's sitting at 43%. However, when you factor in third-party candidates such as Kennedy, her lead goes up to 6 points. She's at 46%, Trump's at 40%, and Kennedy takes 7% of the vote. And the final poll I want to show you, kind of showing this similar result, is the one from the New York Times down here. So in this poll specifically, Kamala Harris is up by 4 points right here. She's at 50%. Trump's at 46%. She has 4 points on him. However, again, when you factor in third-party candidates, Kennedy then takes 4%. Trump's at 43%, and Harris is at 48%. So her lead actually goes up to 5 points. This is a pretty consistent trend we see in the polls, that when Kennedy is in the race in all of these swing states, he takes away from Donald Trump. Kamala Harris either goes down very, very slightly or stays the same or goes up. There's room for her to grow, not much room for Donald Trump to grow when Kennedy's in the race. So this is a really significant development and a huge blow to the Trump campaign, because RFK Jr. and Trump are kind of in cahoots right now. RFK Jr.'s specifically getting his name removed from swing state ballots, or at least trying to, because that'll help Donald Trump. And if he remains on the ballot, well, then that hurts Donald Trump, right? That's the goal. That's kind of the partnership they have going right now. And there have been questions as to what Donald Trump promised RFK Jr. in response, or I should say in return for his help. We don't know much on that as of now, but RFK Jr. is certainly trying to do everything he can to be removed from ballots. And that includes like incurring huge legal costs to hire lawyers to have these lawsuits even filed in the first place. So it's a very strange and kind of gross partnership that they have going on right now. Very improper, you might describe it as, that RFK Jr. is doing this specifically to help Donald Trump. And we know that to be the case because he loves Donald Trump now. He had a rally with him and endorsed him and whatnot. But this is what they're doing. And judges and election officials across the country are not having it. As we talked about earlier, as the judge in this decision said, we are not pawns to play with. Elections aren't games. You can't just decide when and when you're not going to run if you've already submitted, gone through your convention, gone through your nomination, had your name printed on ballots, got all the signatures, and then somehow you just decide, I don't really want to do this anymore. Nada. It's not how our elections work, and RFK Jr. is not going to get away with it. So I will be monitoring this closely to see what happens in other swing states, because truly, this could have a major impact on the results this November. Fingers crossed that RFK Jr. remains on the ballot in North Carolina, because that state is getting closer and closer and closer by the day. This is, 2020's Georgia. North Carolina is like 2020's Georgia. In 2024, it's the new really, really close state along with Georgia and all the swing states. But it's going to be very, very tight. And every vote is going to matter in states like in North Carolina, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep an eye on it, out on it. Apologies. But yeah, good stuff. So anyway, I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Also, drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.